All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Rent-ish podcast. I'm Zach here with my co-host, Patrick.
We're two hosts on a mission to learn real estate investing. On this podcast, we'll share what we're discovering about property management, wild stories, and the lessons we pick up along the way.
And that's the fun part. We're learning as we go, just like you. We bring in experts to guide us, break down the tricky stuff, and figure it all out together. So let's laugh, learn, and dive into real estate. Patrick, it has been a minute.
Yeah, I'm still not used to that new intro, but yeah, it's been a sec. I haven't seen you in so long. How have you been?
I know, it's like we're distant friends. It's like we were writing to each other via like carrier pigeon. We just haven't had the time to like actually talk and hang out. I've been good, but it's been a while since we've done one of these shows. So excuse us out there on all the Rent-ish. What did we call our fans? The renties?
Renties, I think.
Renties. Yeah. Excuse us if we're a little rusty today. We're gonna try and get into the swing of things. I got my caffeine here. Did you finish yours?
I've got like a third of it left.
Third of it left. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish this in the next 2 minutes. Okay. Follow the show at the Rent-ish Pod. Email questions at therentishpod.com if you want to follow the show, and like and subscribe on all your podcast services. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and basically anywhere online that you get your podcasts. So be sure to follow us and stay tuned for new episodes. But Patrick, let's not dilly-dally here.
Cut to the chase. We're
cut to the chase.
Got serious business to talk about.
Exactly. We've got a really special guest joining us today. We're excited to welcome Ray Glymph to the Rent-ish podcast. Ray is a real estate investor with over 100 doors, an NAACP award winner, and a 40 under 40 Business of the Year honoree. He's known for helping people build wealth through real estate, focusing on strong landlord practices, smart long-term rentals, and realistic fix and flip strategies. Ray also mentors and educates new investors through his real estate masterclass and mentorship programs. Ray, welcome to the show.
What an introduction. Thanks for having me.
We try and make it as like regal as possible, so it's like everyone feels like they're accepting their Oscar when they get on the show. That's kind of the vibe.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. It's good to have you on the show. We're excited to learn a lot. Patrick and I gave the rundown of like, we're two real estate rookies. We don't really know a lot of what we're doing, but we're so excited that we have smart people like you to come on the show and kind of teach us a little bit. Let us leave here with a little bit of a lesson. You know what I mean?
You want to hear something crazy, and everybody listening to the word expert, when you said, welcome our expert, I remember like a few years ago, I was just in your shoes of not having that knowledge. And I still consider myself of always learning. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about real estate, is that you can always learn something new. So I'm happy to be here. Hopefully somebody can take something from this episode.
I'm sure someone will. Hopefully that's one of the two of us too. Like
That'd be nice.
That would be really nice. Okay, so we'd love to hear a little bit about you. Like, what makes you tick? Where'd you come from? How did you get into the world of real estate? Just kind of give us the basic summary of like your journey into the world.
Sure. So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I live in West Virginia right now, and I invest in West Virginia and Pittsburgh area. And the craziest thing is everything is an accident, but on purpose. And when you look back, it's always with purpose. So real estate was an accident. Ended up having a house, and I rented out a room. We call it house hacking now, but I ended up renting out a room, and it was to a buddy of mine. We worked together, and he was like, "Man, I need a place to crash." And I was like, "Well, what are you paying now?" And he was like, "Well, I pay about $500, and the roof's falling in and it's leaking all the time, and my landlord won't fix anything." Well, I said, "Well, I got a space right now. I don't have anybody live in my house. You want to just room up with me, be my roommate?" And that is kind of how it happened. And I remember when he paid the rent, at that time I owned a house, but my mortgage was like $1,000. I'm like, man, he's paying half my mortgage. All right. And so it became, what if I rent my basement out? And what if I rent this out? And then it just slowly grew to, man, we can really have something here.
We hear that a lot.
House hacking. That's a term that we actually know is house hacking because it gets brought up so often. Yeah. So what made you make the switch to going from like the house hacking, renting out rooms in your house, to investing in your like second property? Because like obviously once you have two properties, you're not living in both all the time. So like what prompted that jump?
So cool. I was still in my primary residence. That was my primary at that time. I was still in my primary residence. And I don't come from much money. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Never pretend to be.
Well, in this room, you
But I never pretend to be, and I always want to learn from other people. And At that time, I had a little bit of money coming in. I had started my first, second business. I was doing really well, and I had a meeting. It was kind of just like some guys hanging out at a bar, and we were all talking. These guys were way ahead of me. They were entrepreneurs and attorneys and all types of other professionals. And me, I'm just like this bar owner or restaurant owner. Like, I don't know anything. And we were all just having a drink, hanging out, and they started saying, "Hey, look, we should all put some money in. We can go buy some property, and then we can pay cash for it, then renovate it, refinance it, pull the
Right.
money out, and then we can do this 5 times. And before you know it, we'll have $2 million." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sold." What do I gotta do? At the time, I was like, "Hey guys, I'm down to do whatever you guys need. I'll put the money." At that time, it was like $5,000 each,
Mm.
and I'm like, "All right,
Okay.
I could come up with 5 grand." And at that time, everybody backed out when it was time to do it. Nobody actually did it. But I had started to get the knowledge of, this is real estate. This is how I can get into it. And at that point, there was no looking back. So I bought my first property. I tell a story. It was probably a decade ago. I bought it from a wholesaler. And if you don't know a wholesaler, I can explain somebody that finds a piece of property and pretty much they sell a contract. But I bought it from a wholesaler. I didn't know what the guy was. I found him on Craigslist. It was real sketchy. I met him outside of my car. He didn't have a home. And I gave him my check, and I thought he was gonna run off with my check, but sure enough, I bought the property for like 25,000. My first property, man. It was
Wow.
in the worst neighborhood, and I'll tell you, I did all the things wrong. Right? It was in the worst neighborhood. I overdeveloped it. It was an F class, but I did okay with it. And I still remember the day the new tenant who moved in, gave me the first check. It was $1,000 in rent, right? And they gave me that $1,000, and I worked I worked for everywhere from McDonald's to Starbucks. Like I said, I didn't come from money, but I remember that $1,000. I was like, man, I didn't have to scrub a toilet for this. I didn't have to, cook a burger. Like, she just paid me, and then she paid me again, and then another month, and I was like, okay, I got something now. I got to keep.
Sure. That's awesome. Well, to talk about like landlording at a scale, like I love Patrick, when obviously a lot of our listeners are people that are trying to get into real estate. They go from that first property to the second property. But once you pass 100 doors, like what is one principle that you absolutely refuse to compromise on when it comes to making sure that tenants are treated fairly? I mean, like you have so many people coming to you with so many questions and issues and everything like that. I mean, like, is there some principle that you just absolutely will never compromise?
Yeah, I think so. One of my mentors, he told me, tenant is your customer, right? You are running a business, and it might not be, you might not be in Starbucks or any, restaurant, but the customer, the tenant, there has to be some type of level of customer service, right?
Right.
So the tenant is your customer, and then I look at it like if this was a place that I was living as a landlord, or I had to live there as a person, what would I want? And so I always keep that to a high quality. Like, do I want service? If I message my landlord, if I message the property manager, is it going to take 13 hours for them to get back to me? 2 days for them to get back to me? If I have an issue, is it a big issue? Is it going to take 24 hours for this issue to get fixed? Are they going to send somebody immediately? Those are the things that I think are fundamentally important when you start to get to this scale. Because at the end of the day, real estate's really simple, and turnover is what kills most profits.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
you're saying that like maintaining or like retaining tenants is like one of the best things you can do for business. And in order to retain, you have to be like what a tenant would consider like a good landlord. Is that kind of what you're saying? Okay.
Correct. Most people, I'll tell you right now, my portfolio, I have over like 140, 150 units. And my portfolio, I have I'm looking at my board right now. I have 3 vacancies right now.
Mm.
I have a wait list for those units too. Right? I don't have much move in and move out. My average tenant stay exceeds more than 4 years.
Wow.
Wow. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we look at vacancy, I think when you look at, a tenant moves out, you got to look at it a different way. Okay, the tenant's moving out. I can raise the rent $50, $100. But what does that cost you? You're going to be empty for at least a month, right?
So
And
long term, yeah, I see what
yeah.
you're saying.
So that's one of the keys.
Do you have any idea what, just speaking, like what the national average is in terms of retention for tenants? Like, do you think that there's like a generally, like, do you think it's like a year, 6 months, 2 years? Like, I'm sure it varies all across the board.
Yeah, I think it varies based on the class of tenant that you rent to too. So like an
Sure.
A class tenant is somebody you expect to move up, an A or B plus. Traditionally, they would rent for you for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then move until permanent housing. They might go buy a house. Then you might have your C's and D's who sometimes tend to move around. They move around from year to year. because most landlords can't keep up with the maintenance, or they might fall behind because of other circumstances. But usually, most of the calls I get is, "Hey, I need a new place to live. My landlord didn't take care of this, and now the building's condemned, or my landlord didn't do this, and now this is happening, so we have to move." And so, one of the questions, and if you're listening, you might want to tune in and write this down. One of the questions I always ask is, "Why are you moving from where you're moving?" I think that really gives you some insight. People will tell you the truth. Believe it or not, they be like, "Man, I was late on my rent, and the landlord giving me all types of, And at that point, I know. But that's one of the most powerful questions I think I asked during my vetting process.
Why are you moving? Interesting. Yeah, and a question, because it sounds like, and I've never heard it explained like this, where as a landlord, you're giving, in a way, customer service towards the tenant who's the customer. That's a really interesting way to look at it. I guess my question for you is, in doing so and also running a business, where do you think the line is between being like ethical and working with a tenant to retain them and being taken advantage of by the tenant? Like where do you draw that line, and how have you learned like how to balance those two things?
Yeah. So the first thing is going to be a strong lease. I think that is going to be your biggest key, is to make sure that everything is understood from the beginning. Hey, look, you can't call us to change light bulbs. That's one of the biggest things. And you'll be surprised. And here's the thing, though. I have older tenants. There was a lady, her name was Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson passed away 2 years ago. But guess what? Even me with $140, I'll go talk to Miss Johnson. I'll go change your light bulb. Miss Johnson, I understand that you can't get up on a ladder and change your light bulb, right? So understanding that these people are human, too.
Yeah, sure.
But also having, like I said, clear leases. Now, Miss Johnson, you're going to have to get the light bulb next time. I'll take care of you this time, but next time you're going to have to buy the light bulb, and then I'll replace it. Right? Just setting that expectation from the beginning and making it clear. And I think that's where a lot of people lose touch of people. Having that conversation before you give them the lease, discuss the lease with them. Hey, this is my expectation. So some people, they just have them sign it, and they never go through it. Even when I use Inago for my platform, when I have them sign it, I actually have them initial certain parts of it too, right? So, hey, no pets are allowed. You initialed right here so right here it tells me you read it. By you initialing, you acknowledge that you read that. So those types of conversations set expectations from the beginning. And I think that's how you stop from being taken advantage of.
That's cool. I'm sure that takes a lot of extra time, but like I personally, as a renter, I've never actually had a landlord that sat down and like actually read through a document or like added questions to ask about the lease document. It's usually just, here's this thing, sign it, get it back to me or whatever. So it's like, yeah, on the tenant to kind of go in and read that. But I think, that's a nice little gesture, I think, to make sure that everyone's on the same page and communicating correctly to each other.
Well, here's the thing you could do at scale too, since we're talking for investors moving forward too, and it's great. The same systems I apply at 1 door or 10 doors, you apply at 100 doors, right? So maybe as a landlord, you don't have the time to go and say, hey, I got to meet with every tenant. But you set up a system where, hey, look, I'm going to send you this video. Once this video is received, I can see that the video was watched through fully. Once it's done, cool. That's part of your lease up program, So that way you don't have to have that conversation. Or if you have a property manager, they can get on those calls, or some type of Zoom recording where you just record the video. Send it right to every tenant.
Yeah.
It's a cool tactic. I like that.
Another follow-up question. So obviously you didn't start with 100 doors and you grew and grew. What's something that you have learned now managing a bunch of units that you wish you had learned when you were first starting out?
Well, one thing, like I mentioned, the way you start is going to be the way you finish. So I paid attention to detail, but I didn't know everything, right? And so I'll never forget the first tenant. I was like, yeah, she didn't pay her rent. One of the tenants, they didn't pay their rent. And that's when you really get into real estate, when somebody doesn't pay. And I was like, I'm gonna take you to eviction court, and I'm gonna go after you, and I'm gonna get funds. And she knew the game better than I did, man. That was the craziest part. So you have to know what you were getting involved in, right? Everybody thinks it's as simple as, hey, I rent this property out, and then tenant's gonna pay rent, and then it's rainbow and sunshines. You know, you might have to fix a toilet every once in a while or call somebody, but there are other sides to it that I wish I did know, and some of that becomes getting around the right people, having podcasts and shows like this, super essential. Listen to this and continue to gain knowledge.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tenant screening. I want to talk about this real quick because like this is this is a make or break thing for a lot of landlords that we get these conversations all the time on the show with our guests that are really, really into making sure that you also do the due diligence to get the right person that's going into your place as well. So, I mean, what are some mistakes you still see landlords make when it comes to tenant screening, and do you have any advice for folks out there?
So the biggest mistake right now I see, just because of financial hardship. I know a lot of landlords are going through some financial hardships. We see taxes increasing, insurance increasing, etc. They can't bite that bullet. I got a strict rule. I'd rather lower my rent than lower my standards. Okay. So I want to make sure that if I have a vacant unit, sure, I need to fill it, but I also want to make sure that I can attract a quality tenant. Hey, if I got a credit score that needs to be met at this standard, hey, look, maybe I can't get that top market rent. I get a little bit below it, but if I get that credit score, or if I get that right tenant, maybe I don't want pets or something like that, I'm going to adjust that rent to make sure that I can get the right tenant in this place. Because at the end of the day, screening is the most, that's your protection. That's your protection for your property. If you can't screen properly, you fail. Another one, I just see basic landlords not doing the basic things, right? Like, we aren't screening at all. Oh, I like this person. I judge their character. They're a good judge of character. That doesn't work anymore, right? I just passed a lady. We passed up on her. It was probably about 2-3 years ago, and she was the nicest old lady. Hey, sweetheart, yeah, we'll take care of you. And oh my God, did a background check. She had 3 evictions year over year.
Wow.
Right? Criminal record. And it was just like, well, I wouldn't know. She great judge of character. I would have failed on character judgment, but making sure you do your due diligence, protect your property, because nobody else is going to protect your property like you are.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I have a quick question kind of about that, because I'm not super knowledgeable about like the eviction process. Like I vaguely I know things about it, but I've never personally gone through one. And I guess one of my questions.
He says on live on the show to make sure that it's recorded.
Yeah. I'm asking for a friend.
Of course, I'm kidding,
no.
Patrick.
No, so I guess my question about that is, because no landlord wants to go through an eviction, right? But like, and let's say you're in a situation where a tenant is going through a hard time, or maybe is like slacking, is not paying promptly, and it's like a situation where you're not getting your like, they're not following the lease, you're not getting your rent fast. Do you go straight for the eviction, or like, what are some things that you do to maybe like minimize the risk of having an eviction and holding on to the tenant? You know, I don't know if that makes sense, or if that's really formed thought, but like, you know, you don't necessarily, I would think landlords don't want to jump to the eviction. So what other things can you do in a situation where the tenant's not being the best?
All right. So again, I think, and I could host a masterclass on this. I swear I've been through so many. One is going to be the screening process. That's most important. You can't skip that. But if you're dealing with a tenant, deal with them individually, right? So like sometimes, and I'll tell you, my portfolio, I have a property manager meeting every week. We meet with the property manager, and in my portfolio, I have single moms, right? They're going through hardship right now. I get it, right? I want to help them as much as we can, you know. So sometimes we'll say, hey, let's get on a payment plan. We'll help you. People who lose their jobs is a big one, right? All right, well, you know, you've had great experience. Let's try to work something out. Okay, we'll try to work it out in the back end, because we don't. Hey, look, if you need, I have commercial tenants where, hey, Ray, you know, sales were bad. We had one, the street was blocked off, and they didn't do well that month. Hey, sales were bad. Okay, look, hey, we'll prorate the rent for the next 5 months. You might pay $300 more the next month, but we'll get you back on track, right? We just want to help people first.
Yeah.
But if they are setting a bad example from the beginning, you got to nip it in the butt from the beginning. And sometimes you have to go straight for the jugular. Hey, look, this isn't working. I've had tenants who are super dirty. You know, everybody thinks everybody lives like them until you see that not everybody lives like you. And so those type of tenants, you just got to go right at it from day one. Now, we don't want to send eviction usually from day one. I'll send notice. Hey, look, you know, we had the exterminator here. He noticed these type of conditions. Please make sure that this is, you know, corrected, and then follow up. Right?
Yeah.
There has to be a follow up behind it. Some landlords be a little lazy sometimes. We don't want to follow up. You got to follow up. And if things aren't being done to your expectation, you are the boss. You got to fire them. And the eviction process is part of firing. Depending on where you live, sometimes it might be what we call cash for keys. You know, if you're in California or New York and you can't get them out, hey, look, here's $3,000. Get out. Go find your next place.
Interesting.
to avoid going through the whole eviction process. You just give them money and get them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And you want to know, good screening will help you, because in my whole portfolio, I've probably done less than 15 evictions. In my whole time, less than 15. The biggest tip for people listening is, if you go do background check, you call the landlord, right? Everybody calls the last landlord. Most people don't, but you call the last landlord. What you need to do is call the landlord before, okay? Because the current landlord, if you got a tenant that's causing you all types of hell, and they break it, you just want them out. You go, hey, so-and-so from apartment A, they said you rent to them now. I'm thinking about renting her. She said she's ready to move in. Take her. Yes, please take her. Yeah, go ahead.
That makes sense.
But you call the landlord before, and they're like, oh my God, you're going to get into a mess. Call the landlord, 2 landlords before. Check the record.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I never thought about that before. There's a conflict of interest in calling the landlord they're currently living at if they're a bad tenant.
That's fascinating. I've never really thought about that. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. I want to switch gears just a bit. And we got to talk about fix and flip. This is like this is a buzz term that I think we've had a few people on the show that have talked about this. So it's been a few weeks since we've had like a standard episode of our podcast where producer Musée is able to chime in and hang out. He's there. The ghost of producer Musée is here in the room with us.
His spirit is with us.
His spirit is with us, even though he doesn't have a mic right now. But he put on our little document here for our interview with you, Ray, and he said, fix and flip. This is where you separate Ray from TikTok flippers. Now I gotta know, because I don't know what that means. You obviously, we want to hear about your journey with fix and flip and like what you do with it, what like your passion for it. But like, what is a TikTok flipper? Like, what is that? I'm guessing that has some sort of negative connotation to what's going on in the industry right now. But
I would correlate it maybe to the HGTV of the previous time, where hey, look, we're gonna find this house, we're gonna put 100,000 for it, and we're gonna sell it for 2 million. A lot of people thought these sexy numbers, high ROIs, they exist. They do exist, trust and believe. How common is it though?
Yeah.
Right, and that's the reality of the industry. So when I post stuff, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, whatever, I'm showing you the real. I'm showing you I'm on timelines, I'm on deadlines. Today I just posted, and I put 5 days left, 6 days left. Are we gonna make our deadline? I don't know. I hope my guys do, but I don't know. And that's just the reality of it. So I think social media, we see so much junk out there, so much nonsense, and I just want to show people like there are mess ups, there are hiccups, but this is the real estate.
Right.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's cool. So fix and flip from your perspective. Obviously, we've had people talk about it before on the show. You buy a property, fix it up, and then you flip it. But in your words, what does it mean to you? Like, where do you start? What are things that you look for? I'd love to hear about the whole thing.
So I heard this a couple years ago, in that everything in real estate is a fix and flip, right? And real estate has the same fundamentals, right? Fundamental number one is the buy, right? That is the most important part. You have to buy at the right price, right? Now the flip is who's your end customer, right? So if I'm a landlord, my end customer, my person I'm going to flip the property to is my tenant. If I'm flipping houses, the person I want to sell the house to is my end client. So you want to make sure, one, you buy right. Two, the person who you are selling to, right? And so in my first rehab that I ever did as just a landlord, and I did the property like I was selling it, right? I made the property beautiful, put laminate floors throughout, and redid the cabinets and redid everything. To a tenant that was going to move in, it was a wow house to them, but it wasn't necessary and it wasn't what the market needed, right?
Gotcha.
And so you have to understand what is missing and what is necessary in your market to be successful at flipping. And here's the key. A lot of people think I need, depending on your market, I got to find the biggest house to flip. Most of the time, the biggest houses have the smaller buyer pools, right? So if you can get to a affordable housing, if you can find something around that, everybody's looking for that starter home. And I know that's my specialty. I can help people with starter home, getting your first house.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Who shouldn't be flipping houses right now?
Jesus.
TikTok flippers.
I think, you know what? This is actually the time to flip more than buy and hold, right? Interest rates are high, so a lot of deals don't really cash flow. It is very hard to find a good BRRRR deal, which is buy, renovate, refinance. It's very hard to find a good BRRRR deal, but flip, if you can buy it with the right numbers, you can actually make a lot more money than the buy and hold right now. Now, buy and hold still tried and true works. Cash flow is just really tight for long term with the high interest rates. Of course, if it cash flows, you can always refinance later down the line. I think flipping right now is probably depending on who your customer is and what your market is like. Okay, because real estate is very local, so whatever your market is like is going to be the most important.
Got it. And when you said BRRRR, I knew what that meant. We had we learned. No, it was great. I like because we learned that a couple episodes ago. I'm like, I know that term. It's an exciting moment for me. I guess so I had a buddy who bought his first house and it was in rough shape and he had to redo everything. And from my perspective, I'm like, that whole fiasco that he went through was really unattractive to me, I guess. My question for you is like, how bad of shape of properties do you get, and like how much legwork are you willing to put into a property, like when you're going and seeing what to buy? I don't even know if that's something you look at. You're just looking at a number.
No, 100%. So one, the uglier the property, the better. I'm going to tell you that now.
Really? Okay.
Yes, because here's the thing. In real estate, you make money from force and value. It is very hard to make money turnkey in real estate. And when I say turnkey, I mean if you go on the MLS or you go on Zillow.com, you buy a house and you rent it to John Smith, it is very difficult to make the cash flow numbers work. The real value is in the flip game, the rehab game.
Yeah.
That's how you really make the money. So the people who make the most money in real estate are going to be developers. They get the dirt and they turn it to a structure. The flipper is next. We find an ugly house and we turn it to the structure. So, for example, we got a house right now. This is a cosmetic rehab. I'll share my numbers with you. I'm a transparent guy. We have a cosmetic rehab. We bought it for $56,000. We have, I think our number on it for rehab is $20,000. We put new floors in, paint, touch ups, $75,000. Call it $80 all in after we pay closing costs. Call it $90 if you want, closing costs, fees, or whatever else.
Yeah.
Profit on that, our sales price should be about $150. That's $60K. $60K in 30 days. That's not too bad.
That's really good.
Okay. Now you see, so our key is we want to do one every month. So that is the value in flipping. So if you see a lot of flippers, most of the time on HGTV, those people who are really doing a really good job at it, making a lot of money doing it. Now, of course, you pay higher taxes, etc. It is taxes differently, but the value is there in flipping. So I know last month we did a flip. We averaged a flip every month. Or last year we averaged a flip every month. And this year our goal is to get it to maybe 2 a month if we can.
Wow. Okay. So
can you explain why the taxes are different on the fix and flip? Or I don't know if that's even something.
So it's active income. So you're actually working. You're buying something to sell it, right? Whereas the buy and hold, it's passive income. You're buying it and renting it. So the money comes slowly over time.
Okay. Got it.
How do you manage like the actual like rehab of it? Like, does your team handle that directly? And I don't know like how many people like you work directly with on a regular basis, or if you contract new people each time. Like, I don't know what that process looks like at all.
Yeah, I can spend time on the process too. I spend a lot, but I'll keep it very simple.
Okay.
One, develop a scope of work.
Okay.
Clear scope of work. And what that looks like is a piece of paper that says, hey, we're going to take off all the trim. We're going to paint this. This is what I want. And then walk it through with your contractors. Mm-hmm. Usually for some of these, I'll be with the GC or the general contractor. I have a partner. He'll GC it with me. And we'll go in and we'll say, hey, we want this done. We want this one. And we'll either find stubs, which are going to be, hey, I need an HVAC guy to come in and fix this part. Right? Or I need an electrician to come in and fix this part. That's where the real money is made. Or you can hire out a GC. Right? And a GC manages the whole project and you just kind of hands off. You go check every once in a while, make sure things are good. But if you have the subs, you can make a lot more money. So the key is to keep subs. And as you get to scale, to everybody listening, if you got 1 door, 2 doors, it's very hard to do some of these things. Like to have a handyman you can consistently call with just 1 unit or 2 units, it's difficult because you don't have enough work for them.
Yeah. Right?
So when actually going to scale, I tell those people, once you get to scale, if you get to 10 doors, handyman is very comfortable with you because you constantly have something breaking. You're calling him once a month, twice a month. You got a good relationship. You can negotiate prices, but 1 time, 2 times is a little difficult. When you get to 30, 40, you pretty much have somebody on payroll that is constantly like, hey, I got this today. And they're relying on you like, hey, what work do we have today?
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's cool. One more shift of gears to mentorship. So when we were going through your bio, we were learning a little bit about you before we had you on the show. One of the things that we learned a lot about is that you do mentorship, training for people. Obviously, this whole podcast is part of that. People get to hear our show and get to listen to you talk about all this stuff, and it's really, really awesome. But I'd like to learn a little bit more about like what specifics you do with mentorship, and like if you can share some stories about how you realized that that was part of your journey as well.
Yeah, I'll start with how I realized it. I was at a conference a couple years ago, and it was I'll never forget. I forget who was on stage. I know it was like Grant Cardone. There were some bigger names there, and I know the speakers before though. Grant was like the headline, and there were some speakers before. And I was listening to the speakers before, and they were like, "Yeah, you know, we have 10 units, and we're making $4,000 a month or $5,000 a month, and you should invest into our next." And then I remember, I'm like, "You got 10 units, and you're only making $4,000 a month? That don't add up." And then I remember, I'm like, well, I got 100 right now. I should be up on stage. And I started asking people at the conference. I'm like, yeah, well, how many units you have? And they're like, well, I haven't got started yet. And it hit me like, man, I got some systems right now. I should be sharing this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't be in the seats. People need to hit. And at the end of the conference, I had crowds around me asking me questions. At that point, I was like, all right, well, I got to get deeper into it. I can help more people. And that was really the key behind the mentorship. I used to do one-on-one mentorship. I don't really focus too much on one-on-ones because it takes time. I help people out. If you want my time, I try to spare what I can. Usually what we do is we got a group mentorship on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays are 100% free. Just come. We teach real estate for free. If you listen to this podcast, you're getting taught real estate for free every Tuesday. And what got me too is I spent about like 40 or 50,000 educational courses and stuff like that. Yeah. And the stuff, I'll never forget, one course I bought was like a $10,000 course, and it was all stuff I knew. And I was like, man, I got zero value out of this.
Yeah.
It is like very beginner level. And so at that point, I'm like, man, I just spent this money. I didn't even get to meet the guy. I didn't get to do anything with it. It was just some videos. I'm like, I could help people more than that. And it's been great. We've helped people get their first investment property. One of our people in our mentorship, they bought a 7-unit building last year, and they just finished the maintenance on it. So just seeing people, and these are real people in real estate, building that community of people who talk and are able to see growth. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That must be very, very fulfilling to see, what you've been taught, being taught to others, seeing them go off and explore bigger and brighter things. It must be amazing to feel.
And you got to think about what you guys do. Cause I want to give y'all flowers too, because a lot of people don't give you flowers. You guys are educated. You might say, okay, well, I'm not as educated. You guys are educated in the space. I bet you if somebody wanted to know, hey, look, can I get started? You would be able to lead them into, hey, look, this is what I do. This is what I think you should do. You were educated. Most people don't take the leap. So kudos to you guys too. You don't get enough of your flowers.
Aw.
Well, that might be the nicest thing a single guest has ever said to us on the show. So we appreciate that. You've officially locked yourself into as many appearances on the show as you would like for the rest of the time. Patrick, do you have any other questions that you want to fire off before we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, I don't know. One more, probably completely shifting gears again. You said you're originally from, did you say Boston?
Brooklyn, New York.
All right, Brooklyn. How did you get into, because you said your main markets are West Virginia and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Just curious about, like, was that kind of random? Was there strategy behind that?
No, I live here now. So what happened, how I even got here, I left the city. I wasn't doing anything big in the city, man. And I still remember I was working at a bar at the time. And I loved my job. It was cool, but it wasn't the end of life. And I'll never forget, I tell a story all the time. My cousin and I were standing at the train station. We waited on the train. He asked me, Ray, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? At that time, I was like 18, 19. I had no idea. I got some mail that said police officers make $50,000 starting and firefighters make $60,000 starting. I was like, I might be a police officer, firefighter, something honorable. He gave me this quote, and it changed my life. And he said, firefighters don't drive Ferraris. And I just remember, man, I really want to drive a Ferrari. I deserve to drive a Ferrari. And so he said, look, come out to West Virginia. I'm in school there. He was going to school to be an engineer. He was like, industrial engineers and engineers make $100K coming out, and you don't have to risk your life. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. And I came out here. I actually dropped out of school, started my first business, and ended up staying here. Did really well here.
Nice. Cool.
Awesome.
I was just curious because I know people look at different markets and stuff. But yeah, that makes sense if you live in West Virginia now.
The biggest key I can give anybody, it is, if possible, invest in your market. Right?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows your market like you know your market. And we all have these streets in our neighborhood with invisible lines. Like, hey, if you cross that line, nobody really wants to live there. That's not the good side. Going to the bridge or over the tunnel. And your neighborhood like no one else does. So if possible, invest where you are, because people, I looked at ARVs when I got started, after repair values of a house, and I'm like, man, this house right here, this will be worth $300,000. Well, it's on the wrong side of train tracks. It's not nearly worth that. And so be familiar with your market.
It's cool. That's awesome.
Good advice. Yeah.
All right. I've got one more question.
Keep shooting. I'm here for y'all.
One more question. We're doing really well. We're good on time right now. So Patrick and I, we'll end it on a fun note. Patrick and I are big nerds. I think that's part of the reason why they asked us to do this podcast. One question we ask every guest when we get to the very end of the show is, what's your favorite movie of all time? You don't have to say one, if one jumped to your mind just now, maybe one of your favorites. If you had to answer.
I gotta give it to Avengers Endgame, man. I don't know.
Hey.
Yeah, I could watch that movie. I'll probably watch it 15, 20. That's a 3-hour movie, and I can watch it again at any given time.
Oh, wow.
That's beautiful. I love that pick. Absolutely love that pick. Get emotional thinking about Cap just tightening the shield at the very end. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's a good movie, yeah.
All right, awesome. Ray, tell the people out there listening to the Rentish Pod, tell them where they can find your resources, places they can find you, anything that you want to plug before we get out of here.
Yeah, you could honestly just if you want to Google my name, Ray, R-A-Y, Glymph, G-L-Y-M-P-H. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. It's really me. I really respond. No bots or anything like that. I'll respond. You can message me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll message you when I wake up. I'll get to you, and I answer all questions, man. I'm just happy to help people.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been really insightful. It's been really fun getting to hang out with you. And I'm sure we'd love to have you back at some point. I mean, you've earned the permanent.
Say nice things about it.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, remember, follow the show, Rentish Pod. Email questions at therentishpod.com. If you have questions for Ray, feel free to fire them off to us, and we'll get them to him, and then he'll get back to you. We'll figure out some kind of chain to get back in touch. But yeah, follow the show on social media, notified when new episodes go live. Spotify, Apple, rate the show, review the show. We'd appreciate your feedback. But until next time, I've been Zach, and that's been Patrick, and we'll see you guys later.